Samantha's heels clicked sharply against the marble floor, echoing through the otherwise quiet high-rise office. Today was monumental. Her team had finally secured the multi-million-dollar contract she had relentlessly pursued for months. She straightened her blazer and inhaled deeply, savoring the taste of victory. For a moment, nothing else mattered. As she stepped into the elevator, her mind replayed the boardroom presentation, the months of late nights, and countless calls. She didn't notice the presence until she felt a shadow behind her. He was tall, imposing, impeccably dressed, with dark hair slicked back and eyes that seemed to cut straight through her. Every instinct screamed danger. Samantha blinked, trying to steady herself. "Miss Harris?" His voice was low, smooth, and commanding, yet there was an edge to it that made her stomach tighten. "Yes, and you are?" she asked, keeping her tone professional, though a tremor ran through her hands. "Jin Woo Park," he said simply, with a stare that seemed to weigh her entirely. No smile, no pleasantries. Just an aura that made the air around him tense. The name hit her before she could react fully. Jin Woo Park, the infamous Korean Mafia boss whose operations had quietly infiltrated the city's legitimate businesses. She had read about him, the man who commanded fear and respect in equal measure. And now he was here in her office. "I'm here regarding the contract," he continued, scanning her like a predator sizing up prey. "We need to discuss some terms." The elevator felt like it had slowed to a crawl. Samantha's mind raced, each instinct screaming warning, yet some inexplicable pull kept her rooted in place. When the doors opened, he didn't follow corporate protocol. He stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, looking down at the glowing city below, arms crossed, exuding an aura of control. "I've heard impressive things about you," he said without turning. "But impressing me, that's another matter entirely." Samantha's jaw tightened. "Mr. Park, my team delivered exactly what was promised." He finally turned, and the intensity in his gaze was almost physical. "I'm not here for promises. I'm here for loyalty and obedience. In my world, words are cheap. Actions define everything." Her professional composure wavered. There was a magnetism to him that went beyond fear. Her pulse quickened even as she tried to ground herself. Before she could respond, the lights flickered. Samantha frowned. "Is that a power outage?" "Not exactly," Jin Woo said, calm but chilling. "Someone is testing you, testing us both." In an instant, masked men burst into the office. Samantha's heart jumped. She ducked behind her desk as chaos erupted. Papers flew, glass shattered, and her mind raced. She felt a firm grip on her arm and instinctively tried to scream, but one sharp look from Jin Woo froze her. "Stay close to me," he commanded, pulling her toward the hit and service elevator. His movements were precise, lethal, and practiced. Samantha realized that the danger wasn't just around her, it was embodied in him, and yet he was her only protection. As the elevator doors closed, she struggled to catch her breath. "Why are you helping me?" she asked, voice shaky. Jin Woo's eyes met hers, unwavering. "Because I don't like being crossed. And no one touches what belongs to me." Her mind whirled. What did he mean by what belongs to him? But there was an undeniable thrill in his tone, a mixture of danger and possessiveness that made her heart race. The elevator descended rapidly. Samantha tried to process the torrent of emotions: fear, confusion, and a stirring fascination. Who were those men? Why was she targeted? And why did her pulse respond to even the briefest contact with him? When they emerged in the underground parking, a sleek black SUV awaited them. Jin Woo guided her inside, the engine roaring to life. He didn't speak, but his eyes never left hers. Each stoplight and turn felt like a countdown, a reminder that danger lurked at every corner, yet safety was only with him. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, they arrived at a secluded mansion-like compound. Samantha's eyes widened. "Where are we?" "This is temporary," he said curtly. "Safe, for now. But danger doesn't wait. Trust me if you want to survive." She wanted to protest, but words failed her. Every instinct screamed caution, yet every fiber of her being felt an undeniable pull toward him. He was lethal, unpredictable, and yet magnetic. That night, in a luxuriously secured room, Samantha lay awake, mind racing. Fear and fascination intertwined in a dizzying mix. Tomorrow promised uncertainty, danger, and perhaps even revelation. But one truth was certain: her life had changed forever, and so had something deep inside her heart. As shadows danced across the room, she couldn't help but wonder how much of her survival depended on him and how much of her heart would willingly follow. Samantha sat on the edge of the bed, the moonlight tracing silver lines across the polished floor. Every lock, every camera, every sensor in the room was a reminder. She was trapped. Her professional mind ran through escape scenarios with the precision of a chess master, but the truth was clear: there was no simple exit. Jin Woo was gone, leaving the mansion eerily silent. The quiet gnawed at her, each tick of the clock echoing in the emptiness. Her mind drifted back to the elevator, to the intensity of his gaze, the magnetic pull that had made her pulse spike uncontrollably. She hated it, hated herself for thinking about him. She was Samantha Harris, a woman who thrived under pressure, who negotiated billion-dollar deals without breaking a sweat. Yet here she was, confined in luxury that felt more like a gilded cage, her heart betraying every rational thought. A sharp knock shattered her thoughts. Samantha jumped, her breath hitching. "Come in," she called, voice steadier than she felt. The door opened slowly. Jin Woo stepped inside, his tailored suit flawless, expression unreadable. He didn't smile, didn't apologize. He simply closed the door and walked toward her, each step deliberate, each movement commanding. "You're awake," he said, calm but edged with danger. "I could ask you the same," she replied, steadying her voice. "How long am I supposed to stay here? Why me? Why is this happening?" Jin Woo stopped a few feet away, hands folded behind his back. "You're here because someone wants leverage. You were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Mistakes happen, but I don't leave them uncorrected." Her pulse quickened. "He knows everything about me." "Leverage? For what?" she asked, voice shaking despite her attempt at composure. "Information. Control. Power," he said simply. "You work for a company I have interest in. You're capable, smart, and I need to ensure you survive. That's why you're here." Samantha frowned. "So I'm a hostage, and you're my protector?" "Protector," he said, his eyes locking on hers. "But protection isn't affection. That's a luxury I cannot afford." She swallowed, dry throat betraying her. Despite his cold, dangerous demeanor, she caught a hint of softness in his gaze, a fleeting, almost imperceptible flicker. Dangerous, unpredictable, lethal but undeniably magnetic. She hated that her heart betrayed her, but she couldn't ignore it. A faint sound from outside, a crunch of gravel, the low hum of engines drew both their attention. Jin Woo's posture stiffened. His hand moved to the weapon at his waist, movements fluid and lethal. "They're here," he murmured. Samantha's stomach turned. "Who? How many?" "Enough," he replied curtly. "Stay inside. Don't move. Don't make a sound." Before she could respond, he was gone. Silence reclaimed the room, but tension lingered like a living thing. Engines hummed outside, muffled voices filtered through walls. Fear clenched her chest. Jin Woo had left her in his care, yet the unknown pressed in from all sides. Lights flickered. Samantha's eyes whitened. Someone was attempting a breach. Her instinct screamed escape, but where could she go? Every door, every window, fortified, locked. Trapped. And aware of it. Moments later, Jin Woo returned. His presence filled the room like a storm rolling in. He approached, gaze scanning her with precise intensity. "You need to move," he said. Now, before she could protest, he swept her into his arms, strength undeniable. Her heart raced not just from fear, but from the closeness, the unspoken tension. His heartbeat was steady, controlled. The faint scent of leather and something darker overwhelmed her senses. "Put me down," she demanded, struggling slightly. "Not an option," he said, amusement flickering briefly. "Move alone, and you'll step before 10 steps. Samantha's mind spun. She hated the helplessness, hated the adrenaline, hated the thrill, but a part of her couldn't deny the pull, couldn't look away. They moved through a hidden passage, descending into underground tunnels. Samantha memorized every turn, every shadow, every sound, her mind a map of escape. Jin Woo moved like a shadow himself, silent, lethal, completely in control. Questions begged to be asked, arguments tried to form, but risk outweighed curiosity. Finally, they emerged in a dimly lit underground garage. Several subs waited, engines idling. Jin Woo placed her down gently but firmly. "Get in. Don't look back," he instructed. The vehicles sped away, city lights blurring past. Tension thickened, silence enveloped them. Samantha felt the weight of his gaze, each glance sending shivers down her spine. She tried to focus, plan, rationalize why did he affect her this way. As later, they arrived at a secluded, fortified mansion. Jin Woo led her inside silently, staff unaware of the danger lurking beyond walls. He gestured for her to sit, disappearing briefly. She couldn't stop thinking about him, his presence, aura, control. When he returned, he handed her a glass of water. "Drink." Hands trembling slightly, she obeyed. "Why are you helping me?" she whispered. His gaze met hers, dark and unreadable. Because letting you die would be unacceptable, he said. The words twisted inside her. Unacceptable? To him? Hate and fascination tangled in her chest like a dangerous cocktail. That night, Samantha lay awake, eyes tracing ceiling shadows. Danger was far from over, enemies lurked, patient and calculating. But something deeper had shifted, fear mingled with a pull she couldn't resist. She couldn't stop thinking about him, couldn't ignore the magnetism of the man holding her life in his hands. Outside, eyes watched from the shadows. Patient, calculating. Jin Woo's enemies were aware of Samantha's value and of the danger her bond with him created. And in that tense silence, one fact became terrifyingly clear. Tomorrow would bring another test. And this time, she might not be ready. When Amara opened her eyes, the world was quiet again. Too quiet. The faint hum of a ceiling fan buzzed somewhere above her. Her head throbbed, her body heavy as if she'd been asleep for days. The air smelled of antiseptic and something metallic, blood. She turned her head slowly. The room wasn't a hospital. It was a safe house. The cracked walls, the single window barred with steel, the flickering lamp on the side table, it all screamed temporary, hidden, unsafe. She tried to sit up, but pain shot through her side. A low groan escaped her lips. "Don't move," a voice said softly. Her heart stopped. She knew that voice. Jamin stepped out of the shadows. His arm was bandaged, his shirt unbuttoned halfway, revealing the long scar across his chest. He looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept in days. "You're safe," he said quietly. Amara stared at him, words frozen in her throat. "Safe? You call this safe?" He exhaled, rubbing a hand over his face. "It's all I could manage. The cops think we're dead. The people chasing us, they'll stop searching soon." She swallowed hard, anger bubbling up again. "Why were they chasing us? What are you not telling me?" His jaw tightened. "You wouldn't understand. Try me." He turned away, staring out the window, rain sliding down the glass just like that first night. "You remember high school?" Her chest tightened. "I remember you making my life hell." He didn't look back. "I remember that too. I was angry at you for something you didn't even do." She frowned. "What are you talking about?" He leaned against the wall, his voice low, distant. "My brother. He killed himself the year you transferred out. Everyone thought it was because of the fights at school, the gangs, the pressure. But he left a note." He paused. "He said he couldn't live with what he'd done to you." Amara blinked, confused. "To me? I didn't even know your brother." Jamin's eyes finally met hers, and in them was something raw, broken. "He wasn't just my brother. He was the one who started the rumors about you. He destroyed your name. I helped him. And when you left, he blamed himself. He couldn't take it." The words hit like ice water. Amara felt the breath leave her lungs. For years, she'd buried those memories, the whispers, the laughter, the way people looked at her like she was something dirty. All of it had started with them. "You ruined my life," she whispered, voice trembling. "I know, and now you think protecting me makes up for it." He didn't answer. Tears stuck her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "You could have left me alone. You could have stayed out of my life." "I tried," he said, his tone breaking. "But when my father's people said your family owed money, I knew what they'd do to you. I couldn't let them take you." She froze. "My family owes you money?" He nodded. "Your father borrowed from the Kink Syndicate years ago. He thought he could run. He couldn't. I was ordered to find you, to make you repay the debt." Amara stared at him, horrified. "So this marriage, it wasn't real?" He looked away. It was supposed to be a transaction. The silence that followed felt like there had vanished from the room. Her chest ached, every heartbeat sharp and slow. "And yet," she said finally, her voice barely audible, "you made me believe it was something more." Jamin's lips parted, but no words came out. Amara pushed herself up, ignoring the pain. "You used me," she said. "You made me fall for you just to save yourself." He stepped forward, desperate now. "No, I didn't plan that part." "Then what part did you plan, Jamin?" she whispered. "The lies? The wedding? The fear?" He reached for her hand, but she pulled away. His voice dropped. "Amara, listen to me. They won't stop. The people after us, they're from Seoul. They think killing you will erase a debt. If I let you go now, you die." "Maybe I'd rather die than live as your debt," she said, tears finally spilling down her cheeks. He closed his eyes, pain twisting through his expression. "Don't say that, I mean it." He turned sharply and punched the wall, the sound echoing through the small room. "You think I don't hate myself enough already?" She flinched at the outburst, but when he looked back at her, his voice was softer, shattered. "I wanted to fix what I broke. But all I did was break it again. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The only sound was the rain outside and their uneven breathing. Finally, Amara whispered, "What happens now?" Jamin sighed. "I'm leaving tonight. I made a deal with someone. If I give them what they want, they'll erase your name from the list." She frowned. "What deal?" He hesitated. "Information. About the Kemp Syndicate. It's dangerous, but it's the only way." Amara's stomach twisted. "You're betraying your own people?" His smile was tired, bitter. "I was never one of them." "Not really." He looked at her again, and there it was, that unbearable softness, the kind that made her heart ache and her mind scream to look away. "You deserve a life without me in it," he said quietly. "You always did." She wanted to argue, to scream, to demand he stay, but something in his eyes told her it was already too late. As later, she woke to the sound of footsteps. The room was empty. The lamp still flickered, the chair by the window still warm. On the table was a folded note, her name written in his handwriting. Her hands trembled as she opened it. "Don't wait for me. If I come back, it means I failed. If I don't, it means you're free." She stared at the words until they blurred. Outside, dawn was breaking over Los Angeles, pale and silent. And somewhere out there, Jamin was walking into the lion's den, to trade his life for hers. Amara pressed the note to her chest, her tears soaking the ink. For the first time, she realized she didn't just love him. She understood him. The darkness, the pain, the endless circle of guilt. And it terrified her that she might never see him again. The first rays of dawn barely cut through the edges of the abandoned warehouse, casting long, moving shadows across the concrete floor. Samantha sat on the edge of the reinforced cot, heart still pounding, mind replaying every detail from the previous night. Every calculated movement of Jin Woo, every lethal strike, every magnetic glance she hated that her heartbeat betrayed her rational mind. And yet, she could not deny the fire that stirred within her chest whenever he was near. A sudden sharp noise echoed from the far corner. Samantha flinched. Instinct screamed danger. She reached for the flashlight Jin Woo had left, but before she could even lift her hand, he appeared silent, a shadow among shadows. "You heard that?" Samantha whispered, voice trembling. "I did," Jin Woo said, calm yet tense, ready to spring into action. "Stay here. Don't move. Don't speak. If they see you, they'll use you." Samantha's heart pounded like a drum. She had faced high-stakes negotiations, corporate crises, even hostile boardrooms, but nothing had prepared her for this raw, immediate threat. This wasn't strategy or numbers, it was life or death. Jin Woo moved like a predator, eyes scanning every corner, every shadow. He neutralized two intruders who had slipped past the perimeter with blinding precision. Samantha watched, simultaneously terrified and captivated. Every movement was lethal, every glance commanded authority. She felt both safe and vulnerable, caught in the gravitational pull of a man who was as deadly as he was magnetic. When he returned, a faint smirk tugged at the corner of his lips. "You're lucky," he said. "But luck only lasts so long. This isn't just about surviving. You need to understand me, and understanding me is complicated." Samantha frowned. "Complicated how?" she asked, trying to mask the shiver running down her spine. For a moment, Jin Woo's gaze softened, the briefest crack in his otherwise impenetrable demeanor. "I don't let anyone in easily. I've built walls that have kept me alive. But do you make those walls feel fragile?" Her chest tightened. She hated that his words affected her so profoundly. Rational thought screamed danger, yet her body betrayed her, drawn irresistibly to him. As past intense, silent vigilance. Samantha tried to focus, to compartmentalize fear, desire, and confusion, but one thing was undeniable. Her feelings for Jin Woo were growing, a dangerous pull that she could neither resist nor rationalize. In his world, emotions could be fatal. Suddenly, alarms blared. Red lights flashed, accompanied by the deep roar of approaching engines. Jin Woo's jaw tightened. "They're coming," he said, voice low and commanding. "And this time they're not alone." Samantha's stomach dropped. "Who?" she whispered. "Someone from my past," he said, eyes dark and unreadable. "Someone who doesn't play fair. Someone who will stop at nothing to get what they want. And right now that someone wants you." Her eyes widened in shock. "Me?" "Yes," Jin Woo said, calm but deadly. "Because you're connected to me. And anyone connected to me becomes a target." Her mind raced. She had thought she understood danger, but this was another level entirely. She was no longer a bystander. She was part of a deadly game, and the stakes were higher than she could comprehend. Jin Woo moved with practiced efficiency, securing entrances, reinforcing vantage points, and preparing for confrontation. Samantha observed, heart in her throat, as every command, every movement, radiated control. He was a man who commanded respect and fear in equal measure. As the intruders neared, Jin Woo leaned close, voice low and almost intimate. Listen carefully. No matter what happens, trust me. Follow my lead. Survive with me. Samantha nodded, throat dry, mind racing. The argument and assertion were luxuries she could not afford. Survival depended on obedience, and right now, that meant following Jin Woo without question. The confrontation was swift and brutal. Shadows moved like predators, creaking floorboards and whispered footsteps magnifying tension. Samantha ducked instinctively, holding her breath, heart hammering. Yet with every strike Jin Woo made, every enemy neutralized, a thrill coursed through her veins. The dangerous allure of a man who could protect her yet dominate every situation was intoxicating. After the dust settled, silence descended like a heavy curtain. Jin Woo stood tall, scanning the warehouse with sharp, precise movements. For a fleeting moment, Samantha glimpsed something unexpected: relief, perhaps, or a shadow of vulnerability in his dark eyes. "You're safe," he said, measured, his tone firm but controlled. "For now. But this isn't over. They'll return. And next time it could be worse." Samantha's chest ached with conflicting emotions: fear, gratitude, admiration, and a pull she could not name. She hated herself for responding to him, for letting desire and fascination entwine with terror. And yet she could not resist. That night, lying in the secured room, she replayed every movement, every word, every glance. Jin Woo's presence, his lethal control, his magnetic intensity, they all consumed her thoughts. Her heartbeat betrayed her, her mind rebelled, yet she could not stop thinking about him. Outside the warehouse, shadows shifted silently. Someone was watching, patient and calculating. They knew Jin Woo's vulnerabilities. They knew how to exploit them, and now, they had discovered Samantha's connection to him. Trust, survival, and desire were about to collide in ways she could never have imagined. The mansion was quiet, almost deceptively so, but Samantha's mind raced like a storm. Every heartbeat, every shadow, every memory of Jin Woo's presence pressed against her consciousness. She hated the vulnerability that came with being so close to him, hated how her pulse betrayed her rational mind, and yet she could not ignore the pull. A sudden creak from the corridor made her flinch. Before she could even reach for the phone Jin Woo had left, the door to her room swung open. He stepped in, his silhouette cutting a striking figure against the dim moonlight. The room seemed to shrink in his presence, his aura commanding attention and respect, leaving Samantha frozen in both fear and fascination. "You're still awake," he observed, his voice calm but edged with something she couldn't identify: danger, authority, and a faint hint of desire. "I can't sleep," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. "Everything is happening so fast. I don't know what's real anymore." Jin Woo stepped closer. The faint scent of lavender, darker, more intoxicating cologne wrapped around her senses. "Nothing is real until it's tested. In my world, everything will be tested." Her heartbeat accelerated. "Your world, it's terrifying. And yet I can't stop thinking about you." "I hate that I—" "Stop," he interrupted softly, but his eyes held a storm behind them. "Do not speak your fear. Fear will get you killed. Desire is far more dangerous. It clouds judgment. But right now focus on survival. On me." Her chest tightened. She hated how his words affected her, hated that she craved the closeness he offered even as danger lurked around every corner. Before she could respond, alarms blared through the mansion again. This time, they were closer, sharper. Samantha's stomach sank. Someone had breached the perimeter, someone who knew exactly how to test Jin Woo's defenses. "They're here," he said, voice low and lethal. "And this one knows me." "Knows you? What do you mean?" Samantha asked, panic tightening her throat. "An old rival," he replied, jaw tight, eyes burning with controlled anger. "Someone I thought was gone. Someone who will not stop until I pay for the past." "And you're caught in the middle." Fear surged through Samantha's veins. Her mind screamed, "I can't survive this." Not him and them combined. Yet, standing before her, was Jin Woo, lethal, commanding, and entirely devoted to keeping her alive. "Stay behind me," he ordered, his hand brushing hers as he guided her toward the hidden escape route. The touch was electric, sending a jolt through her body, a surge of emotion she hated to admit she craved. The warehouse erupted into chaos. Shadows lunged from corners, shouting voices pierced the night, and the metallic clash of struggle echoed through concrete walls. Samantha held her breath, heart hammering, yet she could not tear her eyes from Jin Woo. Every strike, every movement, was precise, calculated, and mesmerizing. He neutralized threats with ruthless efficiency, always keeping her safe, always pulling her from harm. In a rare pause amid the chaos, their eyes met. She wanted to speak, to reach out, to tell him something, but words failed. "I know," he said, voice low, almost tender, yet edged with warning. "You feel it too. The pull. But this world, Samantha, does not allow distractions. Not even feelings." Her chest ached. "I don't care. He whispered, silencing her gently, lips brushing her ear. The contact was brief, but left her trembling. "Survive first. Feel later. Understand?" Samantha nodded silently. Her mind and body were in conflict, a storm of fear, desire, and helpless fascination. She hated him for stirring emotions she could not control, yet she could not stop thinking about him. As passed, the intruders were neutralized, but tension remained thick in the air. Jin Woo moved systematically, securing the perimeter once again. Every glance he cast toward shadows was precise, every muscle taut, every step measured. Samantha watched, captivated, knowing that without him, she would be utterly defenseless. When they returned to the mansion, the night seemed heavier than before. The air was thick with adrenaline and unspoken desire. Samantha sat quietly, her thoughts a tangled mess of fear, longing, and confusion. One truth was undeniable: she was falling for him, and in Jin Woo's world, falling could be deadly. He entered her room, expression unreadable. Sitting across from her, close enough that the space between them seemed electric, he broke the silence. "You need to understand something," he said quietly, eyes burning into hers. "You're not part of this world just because you're a target. You're part of it because I cannot let you go. Not now. Not ever." Samantha's breath caught. "You cannot let me go." "No," he replied, leaning closer, intensity in every word. "And you should not want me to." Her heart raced, torn between fear and desire. She hated herself for feeling drawn to him, for wanting the dangerous closeness he offered. And yet she could not resist. Suddenly, a harsh sound from outside shattered the fragile moment. Eyes screeching, shouting, a familiar voice calling his name. Jin Woo's expression hardened instantly. "They're here," he said, rising to his feet. "And this time it's personal." Samantha's pulse spiked. Her mind raced with the collision of survival, trust, and desire, forces she could not control. The man she was falling for, the man who held her life in his hands, faced a threat that could destroy everything, and she was trapped in the eye of the storm. Every instinct screamed danger. Every fiber of her being knew the chaos that was about to unfold. Yet, deep down, she could not look away. Not from him. Not from the fire that both terrified and captivated her. The night was heavy with tension, the darkness pressing against the warehouse walls like a living thing. Samantha crouched behind a steel crate, her pulse drumming in her ears. Every shadow felt alive, every creak of the floor a warning. She could hear the soft hum of engines outside, and closer still, the quiet, lethal presence of Jin Woo moving near her. He was calm, focused, and undeniably dangerous, a predator in his element. "Stay close," he whispered, his voice brushing against her shoulder. The touch sent a jolt through her body, sharp and unwanted. She hated how her own pulse betrayed her, how even in the middle of danger, she was drawn to him. The shadows shifted, and a figure emerged, tall, deliberate, and radiating malice. Liam and Jin Woo's old rival, had come to settle scores. His eyes locked onto Samantha, a cruel smile playing across his lips. "Hello, Jin Woo. And you must be Samantha." Lucky little pawn. Samantha's stomach twisted. She wanted to flee, but she knew she couldn't. Jin Woo was all around her, a shield, a weapon, and the only anchor in this storm. "You will regret this," Jin Woo said, stepping between them, voice low and dangerous. "Leave her out of this, or you won't survive." Min-Jan laughed, sharp and hollow. "I came prepared. You think your little fortress can stop me? Think again." Chaos erupted instantly. Gunfire cracked, shadows collided, and shouts echoed off the concrete walls. Samantha pressed herself against the crate, clutching the flashlight Jin Woo had given her. Her mind raced. She had survived boardroom battles, contracts, and corporate warfare, but nothing had prepared her for this raw, relentless violence. Jin Woo moved like a shadow, lethal and precise. Every strike, every motion, carried purpose. He neutralized threats with fluid efficiency, almost hypnotic in its execution. Samantha's gaze couldn't leave him, though fear and adrenaline coursed through her veins. She hated how drawn she was, how her heart refused to obey reason. Min-Jan lunged toward her. Samantha's instincts fled. She ducked, narrowly avoiding his grasp, but she was powerless alone. Just as his hand reached her, Jin Woo appeared, a phantom, faster than thought. His fist struck Jin with brutal precision, sending him crashing into steel crates. The sound reverberated through the warehouse, echoing the danger and relief in Samantha's chest. She exhaled, her body trembling with adrenaline and something else. The pull of Jin Woo was undeniable. His power, his presence, the way he shielded her, it consumed her thoughts. She hated the way her body responded, hated herself for it, but she could not deny it. The fight ended as abruptly as it began. Jin lay unconscious, his men fled or incapacitated. Jin Woo stood tall, surveying the aftermath with cold authority. Only then did he turn to Samantha, his eyes softer than she had ever seen, though still edged with command. "You're safe," he said. Calm, deliberate, but not a word too many. "For now." Samantha's chest heaved. "I think so. Thanks to you." He stepped closer, the air between them thick and charged. Every instinct screamed caution, yet every heartbeat pulled her toward him. "You've done well," he said quietly. "Better than you realize. You've survived more than anyone should." Her voice trembled. "I couldn't have done it without you." The heartbeat, the world outside ceased. There was only the hum of electricity in the air, the echo of distant danger, and the man before her lethal, magnetic, impossible to resist. Jin Woo reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face, his fingers warm, deliberate. The contact sent a thrill through her, unwelcome yet irresistible. "I don't usually let anyone in," he admitted, voice low, intimate. "But you've changed something. And I don't want to lose it. Not now. Not ever." Samantha's breath caught. Her heart raced in ways she could no longer control. She hated how vulnerable she felt, hated that she longed for the closeness he offered, yet every rational thought was drowned by desire. Then he leaned closer, lips brushing hers in a fleeting, electrifying kiss. Time slowed. Danger, fear, and chaos vanished in that moment. There was only heat, tension, and the undeniable pull between them. When they parted, Jin Woo rested his forehead against hers, hands steady and sure. "We survived together," he murmured. "And maybe there's a chance for something more." Samantha's chest tightened, emotions spinning, fear, relief, longing, and something far deeper. She hated the way her body betrayed her, yet she couldn't resist. She was falling for him, dangerously and irrevocably. In the following days, the mansion became both sanctuary and fortress. Samantha learned to navigate the balance of survival and trust, fortifying her mind as Jin Woo fortified the defenses. Yet amidst the tension, the bond between them deepened, a fragile mix of understanding, desire, and unspoken promises. Every glance, every touch, every shared silence reinforced their connection. Jin Woo's world was ruthless, unyielding, yet Samantha discovered a strange safety in his control, a dangerous, intoxicating pull she could neither fight nor deny. As the first light of dawn painted the city in shades of gold and crimson, Samantha stood beside him, gazing out over the horizon. The danger had not vanished. Enemies lurked, always patient, always calculating. But for the first time, she understood that survival was not just avoiding death, it was trust, courage, and surrender to what she could not control. She realized with terrifying clarity, survival wasn't just about staying alive. It was about facing the unknown, trusting the man who had saved her countless times, and daring to embrace the dangerous pull of desire even when everything else threatened to destroy her. And in the shadows beyond the city lights, new eyes watched. Old rivals, patient and vengeful, waited for their moment. Samantha's survival and her heart would again be tested.